realise that this is a really anxious time for everyone, and I think, I would be a liar if I didn't say I was anxious about it as it is at the moment. I'm obviously speaking to you from my home where I've been working for the last couple of days. I am self-isolating after my children started exhibiting some of the symptoms for COVID-19. Thankfully, they're happy. They're driving me up the wall, but nonetheless, they're happy and they're fine and well. Not everybody will be so lucky, and it's really important, that message about preventing further spread, about protecting the most vulnerable members of our society, the elderly and those with underlying health issues. People need to take this very seriously. They need to follow the advice, and we need to protect the most vulnerable members of our community, as I say. And that's why I'm self-isolating, to make sure that I don't, if my children did carry it, spread that any further. It's clear that it's going to be a really challenging time for everyone in the city, and we're seeing that just in taking basic things like going shopping is a challenge at the current time. And we know from the experience elsewhere that that's likely to have an even more significant impact on our communities going forward over the coming weeks. And if the last week has anything to go by, things will continue to escalate, and it's important that we prepare for that, but we also manage that and we mitigate as much as we possibly can the impacts of the outbreak of COVID-19 on all of our communities. And that is absolutely where our focus is as Dundee City Council, working alongside the partners that we have in the city, the third sector, NHS Dayside, Scottish Government and a whole series of others, to make sure that we do as much as we possibly can. It's also really important that people are obtaining the right information in the right way, and I know that there are so many keyboard experts out there, and it's really important that people are accessing NHS website, they're accessing Scottish Government or the Council to obtain the most up-to-date and most accurate information. I know that the way we work now, everybody wants to consume that information immediately, and I'd ask you to be patient. We are a large organisation that are trying to make sure that we can continue to provide all of those essential services that you hold dear and that you expect to be delivered. I think it's also worth saying that there is likely to be a change in terms of how we deliver those services over the coming weeks. I think we've got to be honest about the fact that you will notice a reduction in some services. You will notice a change in some of the ways in which we will deliver those services. That will be for a variety of reasons. It may well be because of people self-isolating. It may be on reduced capacity within the workforce because of that, and because people might have underlying health issues, or people may well be ill. And it's really important that we continue to provide those essential services to the most vulnerable members of our community, and that's absolutely where our focus is. So I'd ask you to be patient, be understanding, understand that people are trying to do the best in their jobs at the current time and will be going forward, and we all need to support the endeavours that are underway to protect the most vulnerable members of our community. We have robust contingency plans in place, and the situation is being monitored all of the time, and that's not an underestimation. I'm constantly taking calls and on the email along with all of my colleagues, making sure that we are as on the ball as we possibly can be with this issue. It is being monitored within an inch of its life, and that's really important, but we are working collectively to make sure that we maintain that public safety message, but also that obviously we're delivering in that. It's really important as well that we are recognising the national advice, and we're following that national advice. A really challenging circumstance, I think, for all of us. I think we've got to be realistic that, there is going to be some significant changes. We've got to support everyone we possibly can. We've got to be positive about what the future is going to hold, although that will present several challenges. And obviously, we've got to be kind to those around us and support our local communities as well. Unfortunately, we've seen a number of examples of things like panic buying in local stores, as we've seen in the rest of the country. And I would encourage people to resist that temptation, because it actually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And actually, the food supply chain is very robust. There are no challenges other than people panic buying at the current time. Food will be replenished. We are looking at how we ensure that happens quicker. So that might be things like relaxing plan and regulation around the delivery times, for example. So we're looking at all of that. These are unprecedented times. I think you'll hear that phrase several times. I don't think any of us have ever lived through something that has as much of a significant impact as this has had, but also that global scale and that I suppose, that drip feed of information coming through on a minute by minute basis because of social media, because of the way in which we consume information nowadays. Sometimes it's very helpful, can be really positive, but also it can also be quite detrimental, I think. And we're seeing both of those elements come through more recently. I think it's really important, I suppose, to also say that we all need to do our bit. We need to follow that guidance. We need to help out where we can. And most importantly, I think we need to be kind and look after each other. It's really important at this point in time that we look out for those elderly neighbours, perhaps, elderly members of your own family, people with underlying health issues, but just generally speaking, let's look after each other and make sure we're supporting one another as best we can. There will be further information coming out, both to parents, to pupils, to employees, and to the general public on a daily basis as we move forward in this. And we will try our absolute utmost to keep you abreast of all the emerging issues as and when they're happening. But you have to bear with us. This is really challenging for everyone concerned. We are doing our best to make sure, as I've said several times, we are protecting every member of our community, and we will be led by the experts. It won't be politicians like me making the final decision in isolation. It will absolutely be fed by medical and clinical experts and scientists who understand this a hell of a lot better than I ever could. And I hope that reassures you that decisions being made are based on that best guidance that is possible. So again, just to say, be kind and look out for each other, and hopefully we will be on the other side of this outbreak sooner rather than later.